So let me go ahead to share my screen. So I want to say a big thank you to Lamo for having me here. I was super excited when he reached out to me. I was like, oh, Lamo. Hope you can see my screen. Okay, I want to be sure you can. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I want to be sure you can see my screen. So basically, I'll be talking about the different career paths in AI, in analytics, in data, as a big field, you know. And we'll talk about trying to choose a career path, and then we'll talk about the different roles, and then we'll talk about the many things that you need to know as a person, and the things you need to do in choosing a career path. So it's going to be a very beautiful session, I believe. And I also strongly believe in my heart that you will be able to grasp one or two things that you can use to start your career in data. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay. So I have my table of contents, don't mind me. So meet me, I'm Kanyinsola, I'm a Christian, and that means that it forms a core, like my core values, right? As a believer. And then I'm into data analytics. I do many things. I'm into data analytics. I can do the engineering part. I do the science part. Whenever the need arises, because in my current role, there is no, on paper, my current role says I'm a data scientist, but everything I do, whether it's it's analytics, it's engineering, it's science, everything share data, right? And then I have a background in zoology. I study zoology at the University of Ibadan. I speak so much because I believe that I love to speak with people, to people, and I really enjoy it. So I'm definitely going to enjoy my session today if you indulge me. And then I have a passion to helping undergraduates carve their career path. And then last but not the least, I'm trying to be a content creator. I'm just trying my best, So let's talk about my journey. I mean, how did I move from somebody who studied zoology to somebody who is in data? And then, so in my third year, I was just tired. Like, I was very tired. Like, I knew that there must be more to this. There must be more to whatever I was. So, a quick story in zoology in University of Ibadan, you will draw a lot of fishes, like 40 specimens and all of that. You will draw, you will read a lot of books, like you have to read and pour and explain in your words and all of that. I was just tired, right? I just wanted to do something. And I grew up in a family where both my dad and my mom are business people. So I know that I have always been very, very business savvy since growing up. But I just wasn't seeing the link between studying zoology and what is really my passion, right? And then I sat down. I remember that year, I sat down, I did some quick SWOT analysis. And I want to say a big shout out to, our very first speaker. Like, she said everything in my mind. She really said a lot. And I also learned from that session. And I believe that that's the basis for even choosing any career path you want. Anyway, so I wanted to play to my strengths. I wanted to play to the things I'm passionate about. I wanted to play to the things I would enjoy doing. And that's when I realized that, I think being in this department is not really, I won't use it when I leave school. That's what I told myself. So I did some SWOT analysis, and then I came up with a conclusion. And the conclusion was that I'm analytical. I'm very analytical. And back in secondary school, I loved maths. So and economics. But every parent wants their children to study medicine and surgery. That's why I ended up in zoology. So when I started data analytics in 2021, like the later part, like Q4 of 2021, there weren't so many people talking about data. But when I searched online, I saw this Google professional course, and then I started it. And then I told my mother that I want to learn data analytics. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know what it would take. I didn't know, but I just knew I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn something outside of my current class, what we're doing and all of that. And then I moved on, started it. And then at the same time, I got one scholarship into World Quant University, and then they were teaching like data Python for data science. So I studied that. I got to module 4. When I got to module 4, I was like, oh, this thing is not for me, because I tried data science first, right? Because we're building a lot of regression models and all of these things that I didn't even know anything about, right? And then moving on, in 2022, I started learning. I got some data. I think that 2022 was the year of scholarships, in my opinion. There were a lot of scholarships for women in data, like any small thing. So scholarship for, if you're a woman, thank God for LinkedIn. If you're a woman in data, blah, 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 a lot of scholarships. And then I started learning, started doing some projects. That same year, I was telling everybody I was into data analytics. That same year, I got an interview, even though I fucked up, but I got an interview that same year. And then the game changer for me was when I participated in the maiden edition of Data First Africa's hackathon. So a friend just reached out to me that they needed somebody that knew Python to jump on their team. I'm like, I know Python, man. And then I jumped on the team, and then our team made top 5, 4th position, like at the end of the day, like the roundup. And then I'm also happy because that means that my work was recognized. That's what it meant for me. And then I finished school in 2023, June, July, August. And then I went for DataMind camp in I think October or something in 2023. And that was when I met Lamo, I met Lamo, I met Esther, I met Alexa. And in the very first video that Lamo shared when he started, I saw myself. I was like, that's me. And that's like 2 years from now. And then I left the DataMind camp fired up. I left fired up, like with so much clarity, like I've never. It was like an halogen lamp of light bulb moment. It was not a bulb, like halogen lamp of clarity for me. And I strongly believe that that's what DataMind Cap is also going to do for everyone over here. Is you're gonna live with so much clarity and so much precision as to what you ought to do by God's grace. I feel like I'm in church. Sorry if that's not your vibe. All right, so currently I'm providing value with data every day. I'm learning. My mentor is making sure that I'm getting some certifications. I joined like an accelerator program. I'm part of a tech community in Europe. My mentor is pushing me. She's a senior consultant as a data engineer. And I'm upskilling and I'm dreaming big and aiming bigger. I mean, this is the least I will ever be. And that's just a fact, because it can only get better from here. The path of the just always shines brighter. So now let's talk about the data landscape. I mean, this is what we are here for, and let's talk about it. The data landscape, over from 2022 to now, I've seen a lot of things. Like the people that don't even know what they are doing are also putting content out there to say, oh, you have to learn this, you have to learn that, you have to learn this, you have to learn that. And I'm like, bro, take it easy. especially with the influencers, or especially those on Twitter that used to just tweet anything. Anyway, that's why you're in data mind camp, right? So data is everywhere. You find data everywhere in your personal life, um, in transportation. Here in Europe, there is something. There's this ride sharing app that you can, there are cars everywhere, and then if you have the app and then you scan the code on the car, you can drive the car anywhere, and then you pay as much as you use the car. All these ride sharing apps. And then in marketing, there is data in marketing, there's data in healthcare, there's data in entertainment, there's data in market research, which is what my company is doing. They do a lot of market research for other companies. So it's a B2B, right? And that really aligns with me because I want to help other businesses. I want to help other businesses get things done, right? And to position themselves better. And then you also find data in education, in financial. And I think most people know about financial services like PalmPay, Money Point. They need data. They get data, generate data every day, and then they need a data analyst to make sense of their data. In government, in agriculture, in climate, in sales, and all of that, there is data. Your text messages, your WhatsApp messages, your footprint on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, everything, you are getting or generating data every day. So the possibilities with data are endless. They are very endless. There's nothing you cannot do with data. And that's why people pay so much to buy data. And then there's something that came to my attention about a woman who has a business of who went to like Shark Tank to pitch her business about cat kits, right? Producing some cat kits for cats. People, in this side of the world, people keep pets a lot. And then a particular pharmaceutical company bought a business for hundreds of millions of dollars. Not because they are producing cat kits, but because of the data they have. That's how powerful data is. Because the pharmaceutical company knows that the data the woman has over 10 years, they cannot generate it yet. The woman has invested so much into her business that to produce those kits. That's because she has a lot of data to be able to produce those kits. So imagine a big pharmaceutical company buying a business for hundreds of millions of dollars because of the woman's data. That's mind-blowing. Now, let's move on to the different roles in data. So yeah, I'll be talking a lot about the roles, and then you can write down which one resonates with you a lot that you would want to do, and write it down. If you want to ask more question about it from me, I will be very, very happy to answer you. So number one, you have a business analyst. And a business analyst is usually much more closer to the business than a data analyst, most of the times. Most of the times. They focus on what the business needs. They focus on, ensuring that whatever the data analyst does, they make more sense of it to the business owners. Sometimes, I didn't say all of the times, in a bigger company, the person is also called a storyteller. So the storyteller tells the story to the stakeholders better than a data analyst sometimes. Sometimes. So all these roles are names, they are titles. They are titles. They don't, sometimes you get into those roles and you do way much more than all of this. But what a business analyst does is analyzing what the business needs and preferring solution from the data that the data analyst has made available. And then there's a data analyst who does the data collection, data cleaning, interpret it, and then builds a visualization for the stakeholders. And then in bigger organizations, some data analysts just work on interpreting, identifying trends and all of that. And then there is somebody that is like the visualization expert that does the dashboards in bigger organizations. So yeah. And then there's a business intelligence person who does much more like business intelligence things, developing solutions for the business, developing reports that would make sense, that will make sense of the data they have in their data warehouse or their data lake to the stakeholders. So in terms of roles, there are many roles, and we're going to talk about it. And then I attached the tools that you need for each of these roles. You notice there is Power BI or Tableau, SQL. You know that SQL is like a major thing because nobody is really, well, don't let me say nobody. Most companies are moving to databases, data warehouses, data lakes. People are not doing Microsoft Excels anymore, or Microsoft or Google Sheets. I mean, in this part of the world, I can't say but not people still do a lot of things with Microsoft Excel in Nigeria. But much more than that, Excel, the Excel is needed, SQL is needed, Power BI or Tableau. You notice I'm putting Power BI or Tableau because I see most people say, oh, learn Tableau, learn Power BI. You only need the one visualization tool, really. And if you're applying for a company that, or to a company that what they really want or what they use, the visualization tool they use is Tableau, then you tell them that they have transferable skills from using Power BI to using Tableau, and then it's just a matter of tool. Tools are learned every day, really. And then more roles, we have the decision scientist. And so people call decision scientists like statisticians because there's a lot of statistics involved in decision science, being a decision scientist. Because yes, the data, you've made sense of the data, but there's something called hypothesis testing, especially in market research. Hypothesis testing, or A/B testing, that you want to know if there is a significant difference and all of that. That's for the data decision scientist. Then the data scientist does a lot of developing models and ML algorithms. So the data analyst cleans the data, makes it available, and then the data scientist can grab the data from the data analyst to build models or ML algorithms like logistics regression and all of that to predict some trends and all of that. And then we have the machine learning engineer who does a lot of building, a lot of machine learning models, and focus on ensuring the performance of those models, basically. I mean, they are the Python guys. And then there's also a role called analytics engineer. And then analytics engineers are those who are like data analysts, but they also have a lot of data engineering skills. So in the middle, there's an analytics engineer between a data analyst and a data engineer, because the data analyst bridges the gap between engineers and data analysts. And then what they focus much more on is the data modeling, right? How to make the data available for the data analyst. So they use a lot of DBT most times and SQL. One particular tool or language that I know that is needed in data is SQL, and it's no matter the role, you need SQL a lot. And then moving on to a data engineer would build ETL pipelines. I build ETL pipelines in my current role a lot because we're gathering data from many areas, from APIs, from eye tracking websites, from a lot of things. a lot of things. So the data, what the data engineer does is to gather data from Instagram or from X or from the website or from an API or anything. So the process of bringing all this data together into maybe the data warehouse of the company is what it is. That's data engineering in other words. And then for a data ops engineer, it's like DevOps. So there is data ops. So they automate and optimize the life cycle of their data. So as the data engineer is ingesting the data into the warehouse, the data ops is taking over to optimize the process of the data quality from ingestion to deployment, really. And then there are tools there. And then we have the data architects. Data architects, these are now like more strategic roles. Strategic in the sense that they are not extremely technical and they're not extremely business. So they combine both. Because a data architect must know what the business needs to be able to build a strategy. So before a database is built, there's a need for a data architect to show what kind of database systems to build, what kind of data models it will have, and to ensure the scalability. Scalability is very important of that database in any organization. And move on to the data governor. I mean, for data governor, these people that enter data governor roles are probably people who have already been like 10 years in this data space. Like they've seen it all, like they've seen it all and all of that. Or people who are in chief data officer roles, you know that these guys are not playing. They are the like Oga at the top. They are the ones that are dealing with strategies, they're dealing with standards, ensuring that there's compliance with the data, rules for the company and all of that. And then you have an ETL developer who can also be a data engineer. But yeah, implementing ETL pipelines, really, that's what they do. And then, yeah, to annotator. I know that there's a lot of data annotators these days. People would try to label and tag data for the machine learning engineer to use, basically. And then for AI engineers, you see a lot of AI stuff that are being built these days. You see things like your ChatGPT, which is from the large language models and all of that. The AI engineer is in charge of that. And then you have the MLOps engineer. I don't want to bother you with all of this. You'll probably get my slides later. And then, yeah, what are the basic skills and tools for data in this data space? So the first one is spreadsheets. And for spreadsheets, you're either talking Microsoft Excel or you're talking Google Sheets. And then you're talking, the second is with data warehouses. I didn't want to use warehouses. I wanted to use databases, but these days, organizations have moved beyond databases to data warehouses. Right now, it's data warehouses or data lakes. Why? Because of the number one, the amount of data, the volume of data, and number two, the kind of data. Most efficient data warehouses are cloud data warehouses, which I gave you, a list. You have Snowflake, you have AWS Redshift, you have Microsoft Azure, you have Google BigQuery. You don't have to learn all. You have to learn one. And I think, because some people say, hey, is AWS and must learn. No, there are companies using Azure, there are companies using Google BigQuery, there are companies using Snowflake. You need to learn one. When you learn one and you understand the concept, you can easily use another. It's just because it's from a different brand. You know, like bread. Bread can come from different brands, but it's still the same bread. That way. And then for visualization tools, you have Tableau, you have Power BI, you have Looker, you have citing. Like I said, you only need to learn one. And then you learn one, understand it, the concept behind it. then you cannot replicate into others. So maybe if the job you get, they use another visualization tool. Now, at the heart of using all of these tools, at the heart, the core is problem solving. If you're not solving a problem, really, there won't be a need for a data analyst. There won't be a need for a data scientist. There won't be a need for a data engineer. There won't be a need for an analytics engineer. There won't be a need for me. Let me put it that way. If I'm not solving a problem, that's why I said tools will always change. You can change jobs. You can move from one organization to another where they are using a different tool from where you're coming from. But it does not matter, because at the heart of all these tools is problem solving. The world is for problem solvers, basically. The roles are for problem solvers. Now, let's talk about you as a person. And you as a person who wants to get into data, who wants to do a lot of things in the data space, who wants to become a data analyst, who wants to even land a role in data analytics and all of that. So at your core, what are you meant to do? What are you meant to do? What problem is burning in your heart? What problem is burning in your heart to solve? Well, what do you want to do, really? Because answering these questions will actually help you to know which road you're going for in the data space, really. It's going to help you to know which roles you're going for. It's going to help you to play to your strength and not your weakness. It's going to help you to know if you are very technically oriented, or if you want to be a business, if you want to tilt more to the technical side, or if you want to tilt more to the business side, there is a space for you. But you have to, like Christina said, self-awareness. You have to know yourself. Have you identified your strengths? Have you identified your weaknesses? How do you want to deliver your value in the tech space? And do you know your why? These questions, I had to sit down to answer them. And then from the DataMind camp in 2023 that I attended, it shaped a lot of things for me. It really shaped a lot of things for me. I had to identify what I want to do with data. Like, yes, I've learned the tools, I have the skills, but what do I want to do with it? What do I want to make? What do I want to make do with it? How do I want to make do with it, right? What do I want to make do with data? Because you have data for a particular purpose, right? So these questions, you need to answer them. Yeah, I know it can be hard, but you need to. And then I remember that from the DataMind camp in 2023, it made me come to a realization that this is what I want to do with data. I want to help businesses solve their problems. I want to help other businesses. I want to help other people. Maybe because I grew up with a family that has businesses and something. I don't know why. I had to discover my why. I want to help businesses solve their problems with data. Whether if it's financially, or it's positioning wise, or it's customer feedback wise, or it's market research wise, or it's anything, right? So I want us to really dwell on this part in your personal space. Ask yourself these questions, because if you don't know your why and your drive and what you want to do, you will be shooting aimlessly. You'll be shooting aimlessly. You'll be dropping CVs aimlessly. You'll be applying for jobs aimlessly. So I think you should ask yourself these questions. Or maybe for some people, they want to get into data because they want to do something in the biological tech space. That's beautiful. Maybe you have a biological science background like I do, and then you want to delve into data so that you can do something in that space. That's that's a why, or that's a reason, right? What problem do you want to solve? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Do you know your why? And I think that's very important. Okay. And this came to my heart as I was, coming up with these slides, and I said nothing beats tailoring your career to align with your genius, because that is your competitive advantage. And that blew my mind, because I remember that people that you've noticed in this life, because they tailored their career to align with their genius, with their strengths, not their weaknesses. People don't play to their weaknesses, they play to their strengths, because that is where they thrive, that is where they bubble, that is where they do well, and that is their competitive advantage. Like, there's no two Kanyinsola in this world, there can only be one. And I'm tailoring my career to align with my genius, because that is what makes me me, and that is what makes you you also. And number 6, play to win. Now, you've discovered your strength, you know what you want to go for, you've discovered your why, you've discovered the space you want to play in. Then start learning the relevant tools needed. Start learning the relevant tools needed. Start learning. I know I told you I left Data Mind Camp fired up. I left fired up, but it was up to me to put in the work. I left fired up, but it was still up to me to put in the work. You leave the space fired up, but it will still be up to you to put in the work, And then leverage your domain knowledge, really. And this is for people who probably have, like, maybe they're already into accounting, like Blessing, or they are into healthcare, or they're into sales, or something. People that are already working that want to transition. Leverage your domain knowledge. If with your years of experience in that field, and then you add data analysis to your toolkit, you're going to be unstoppable. And that's because nobody has domain knowledge like you. Nobody has domain knowledge like you. And you have the domain knowledge, and then you have the skills to analyze data, then boom. It's 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 going to be like um like it's gonna be explosive. Let me put it that way. It's just going to be explosive. So domain knowledge is super important. I strongly believe that domain knowledge is super important in analyzing data in any data field, because in every industry there is data. In healthcare there is data. In the energy space there is data. There is data in the energy space. Now imagine if somebody has been working in the energy field for 10 years, and the person wants to get into data science or data analytics or something. By the time the person learns how to, the tools or the skills needed to analyze or to data, and then they give him energy data, the person is going to understand. Domain knowledge is as important as your tools or your skill sets. Domain knowledge is very important. So, like Christina said, there will always be a link between where you're coming from and where you're going to, between your former whatever, between the career you're currently in and the career you want to transition into. Domain knowledge is leverage your domain knowledge, because that's your strength. If you've had like 5 years of experience in the energy sector, for example, that is a leverage. and then you learn the data skills that you need. You don't need to look for data analytics role in finance. What are you looking for there? You do it in energy because you have the domain knowledge needed to get you a foothold in the industry. So you're just like an energy data professional, and that's period. Okay, are you trying to tell me that my time is running out?
Yeah, you have 10 more minutes.
Oh, I did great. 10 more minutes. Nice. So then the next one is be visible. Start sharing your story on LinkedIn. Um, I don't know. Transitioning into a career is difficult. It's not easy, right? But whilst transitioning, one thing that can help in good soft landing is being visible. Being visible. And being visible doesn't necessarily mean, or maybe just saying one or two that you don't know. So no, be sharing your story one at a time on LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn girl. I do LinkedIn. I share things on LinkedIn whenever I have the opportunity. Right. I don't sleep on LinkedIn though, but I'm saying that I use LinkedIn to my advantage a lot of times. And then there are many speaking engagements that I've had that there are people I don't know from anywhere, from South Africa, from Tanzania, from part of the world that I've never been to, that they've asked me to get on their space to talk about getting into data, and that's it. And yeah, and I show up and I talk. That's it. Right. In being visible is super important in transitioning as a data professional or as a professional that wants to get into data. Being visible is super important. And I remember, I think I wanted to share something. Yes. Okay. I think most of us would have seen these pictures in the very first video that Lamo played. This was um the post I came up with when I left DataMind camp. I remember traveling from Ibadan to Lagos the night before, and then I had the session, and then I left after the session. I told you my heart was burning with a lot of clarity, like a lot of things to do. And then I came up with this pitch. Okay, so I came up with this. Oh, I solve problems with data. I work with stakeholders to know the business pain points. And that has not changed till now, right? And that's because of the clarity I gained from that space. Knowing fully well that at the heart of everything you ever do is problem solving. But who do you want to solve your problems for? Are you solving your problems for the finance industry, or for other businesses, or for the healthcare, or for the biotech, or for the energy space, or for the banking sector? Mention it. So I wrote this and it blew up. That was my very first viral post on LinkedIn, and I kept it. It had 5,000 plus impressions, and 5,000 plus impressions for someone that didn't have up to 1,000 connections on LinkedIn. It was a big deal. All right, it was a big deal for me. And then, can you see those pictures? Can you see me? Oh gosh, I was staying there, but yeah. And then I was sponsored too, just in case you are here and then you think, oh, maybe you couldn't afford it and you were sponsored. I was also sponsored then, thanks to Solomon. He sponsored some tickets that year. God bless him. And then we had it. I'm glad I was able to go, because it really shaped a lot of things in my career. And I believe this would also shape a lot of things in your career for you. Like, I want you to come to a realization that what you're looking for is not more tools. All you are looking for is on your inside. Just sit down and have some clarity sessions. Sit down and ask yourself questions. And I think one thing we don't like to do in our generation is to sit down to ask ourselves questions, to introspect. But I'll really, really advise that you sit down. The tools, you learn it. But right now, I want to know if you have any questions from me.